There is something genuinely special about the way a bullet leaves a barrel in Max Payne 3, even now in 2026. It is not just about the damage or the kill, it is about the weight, the sound, and that heavy, visceral feeling of impact that most modern shooters still struggle to replicate. Coming back to this game over a decade after it first hit the scene is a trip, because we are living in an era of massive open worlds and endless live service checklists, yet here is this tight, angry, linear masterpiece that reminds us what focused game design actually looks like. It is a game that does not care about your map icons or your crafting materials. It cares about the momentum of a man who has lost everything and is literally diving headfirst into his own grave. When you boot this up today, the first thing that hits you is that the visuals have aged like a fine wine, mostly because Rockstar went all in on the tech behind the character movement. Max moves with a certain physical presence that makes him feel like a real person rather than a floating camera. If you dive into a wall, he doesn't just clip through it, he slams into it, his body contorts, and he lands awkwardly on the floor. You can actually stay down there, rolling around and firing from your back, which still feels more responsive than the shooting mechanics in games that came out last year. There is a grit to the art direction that makes the transition from the snowy, depressed streets of New Jersey to the sweltering, neon-soaked heat of Sao Paulo feel like a fever dream you cannot wake up from. The combat is where the game truly earns its legendary status. Bullet time isn't just a gimmick here, it's a necessity. The AI is aggressive, and if you try to play this like a standard cover shooter, you're going to get shredded. You have to be proactive. There's this incredible flow to the gunplay where you're popping painkillers, leaping through a glass window in slow motion, and trying to land 3 headshots before you hit the ground. The way the environment reacts to the violence is still mind-blowing. Every shot chips away at the concrete, shatters the bottles on the bar, and leaves the room looking like a war zone by the time the last body drops. It's brutal, and the kill cam that tracks your final bullet into the target remains one of the most satisfying rewards in gaming history. But as much as the shooting carries the experience, the story is what keeps you anchored to the controller. Max is a mess. He's an alcoholic, he's addicted to pills, and he's constantly narrating his own downfall with some of the best hard-boiled dialogue ever written. James McCaffrey delivered a performance that feels even more haunting now, capturing a man who is essentially a ghost walking through a world he doesn't understand. The shift to Brazil was controversial at the time, but in 2026, it feels like a stroke of genius. It takes the noir themes of the first 2 games and bleeds them into a vibrant, corrupt setting where the sun is just as oppressive as the rain ever was. You see the massive divide between the wealthy elite in their penthouses and the people struggling in the favelas, and Max is just this blunt instrument caught in the middle. The way the story is told is almost relentless. The game uses these stylish, comic book-inspired transitions and keeps the pacing fast, rarely giving you a moment to breathe. Some people might find the frequent cutscenes a bit much, especially since they're often hiding loading screens, but they serve a purpose. They keep you inside Max's head. You feel his fatigue, his hangovers, and his growing frustration as he realizes he's being played. It's a narrative that respects your intelligence, even when it's being loud and explosive. The secondary characters are just as cynical, and while there are no traditional RPG choices or branching paths, the weight of Max's journey makes the linear progression feel earned. Technically, the game is a beast. Back in the day, it was a showcase for the Rage engine, and on modern hardware, it runs like a dream. The textures are sharp, the lighting is atmospheric, and the physics are still some of the best in the business. It's a reminder that we don't always need 200 hours of content if those 10 to 12 hours are polished to a mirror finish. The sound design is another high point, specifically the soundtrack by the band Health. It's this industrial, pulsing heartbeat that ramps up the tension during the big firefights and then drops into these lonely, ambient melodies when Max is reflecting on his failures. The airport sequence towards the end, with the track Tears playing as you fight through the terminal, is arguably one of the greatest moments in action gaming. It's not a perfect game, of course. The difficulty spikes can be legendary, and if you're playing on the higher settings, one wrong move will send you back to a checkpoint before you even realize what happened. There's also the fact that Max can only carry a limited number of weapons now, which was a big change from the previous games where he had a bottomless coat. You have to actually think about what you're carrying. If you want to dual-wield pistols, you have to drop your rifle. It adds a layer of tactical thinking, but it can be annoying when you realize you just threw away a grenade launcher for a snub-nosed revolver. Yet, these limitations make the world feel more grounded and the stakes feel more real. Looking at Max Payne 3 in 2026, it stands as a monument to a specific type of high-budget action game that we just don't see much of anymore. It's a game with a soul, a voice, and a very specific vision of what a shooter should be. It doesn't try to be everything for everyone. It just wants to be the best third-person shooter you've ever played, and for my money, it still holds that title. It's a dark, sweaty, violent journey that leaves you feeling exhausted in the best way possible. It reminds us that even when a character is at their lowest point, there's still a certain beauty in the struggle, as long as you have enough ammo to see it through. I would give Max Payne 3 a solid 5 out of 5. It's a rare example of a sequel that takes a massive risk by changing the setting and the tone, only to end up defining the genre for years to come. If you haven't played it in a while, or if you're one of the people who missed it back then, do yourself a favor and pick it up. It's a masterclass in atmosphere and mechanics that hasn't lost a step. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the classics that still matter. Share this with someone who needs a reminder of why we love these games, and let me know in the comments what your favorite Max Payne moment is. I'll see you in the next one.